Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Spin Rundown. It is November 15th. We've had a week to digest all of the CrossFit Games news for the upcoming season, and we are lucky enough to have Adrian Bozman, Director of Competition, join us to kind of talk through a little bit more about what's going on next year and kind of hopefully dig a little bit deeper than what we've gotten so far. So how's it going this evening?
It is good. I was just telling you guys before we hopped on, I've been a little under the weather, so I still hacking up a lung every once in a while, so I might have to hit the mute button real quick. But other than that, I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, no problem.
I got this like black lung. I just can't get rid of it. I don't know what the deal is.
We got JR Howell, man. He's watching Allegra R, Chris Giles, Sarah Cooper. All right. So it's been a week.
Is JR the coolest dude out of like this whole cadre?
100% cooler than us. Yes. yes. So it's been a week.
Chase is a close second.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not the top. We're the B team. JV.
Yeah. I feel
I
the same
kind of
way.
go back and forth. So like, speak for yourself.
Yeah.
I like to be on the outside personally.
Yeah.
So
never let them see you coming, right?
Well, once all this came out, you're good. You're good. Have you received any feedback? Like, have you heard from affiliate owners?
No, not
maybe
at all.
like JR or
radio silence. I don't know if you know this, but the CrossFit community, they tend to keep their opinions to themselves, and they're a pretty reserved bunch. So
well, I know it's been vocal online, but I wasn't sure if anybody's reached out directly to you to kind of share their thoughts.
Yeah, a lot less so, but that's kind of par for the course. Like I think internet's usually a little louder than direct channel for sure. But we've heard kind of both sides of the fence. Like we've had some people that have come out specifically around like 25% advancing to quarters. That seems to be like a real kind of polarizing topic, I'll say. Some people are like, I love it. I can't wait because like that gives me another opportunity to shit talk with my friends. And I can't wait, And then we hear other people that are less enthusiastic about that. So that I would say that one's probably what we've heard the most about. But again, like noisier online than directly. Yeah.
Before we get into it, is like every time you guys are about to do a release, I imagine like the whole week prior, you were like trying to set your mind straight, like, okay, I'm gonna have to deal with like a thing, like just a barrage of questions for 3 weeks.
I mean, there's definitely a part of that, but for a lot of us that have been on the team for a long time, it's like we're no stranger to strong reactions. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. So I think we started out last week. I mean, I think everybody was really happy with the age groups and adaptives getting their time to shine. How has that gone? Like you're expanding that significantly, right? Like they're getting their time, they're getting their own spotlight, their own show. I guess first, when do we think we'll actually get some more details for the adaptives and age groups of what their games will look like?
I mean, I don't know quite what you mean by that, as far as like how many events or days.
No, like what? No, when will we know? Like, hey, the adaptives are going to go in August or September or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the long and the short of it, as soon as we have full confidence in the venues that they've secured and their contracts are done. I mean, that's really it, is just making sure that we don't put information out there that's subject to change. That's it. So our rule book is going to be published the first week of December. That's what we're targeting now. We're hoping that in tandem with that, we'll have most of that able to be released.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the 25% quarterfinals. That was definitely a hot topic.
Sorry, my dog's freaking out. Just one second.
Yep.
John, you're not the only one. About time somebody else's dog.
Somebody else's dog is.
I wonder if Boz's dog's gonna be in the comments.
Boz, typically.
Sorry, we got a new puppy, and he's. Oh yeah, What kind of dogs you got?
I have 2 corgis, and they're just ridiculous. I usually have to silence them like 8 times a show.
I don't know if I can get a horrible shot there. Yeah,
there you go.
That dude's 5 months old.
He needs to be on your foot at all times.
Well, kind of. He's just, I don't know, man. When we got him, he was 27 pounds, and he's like 52 today in 2 months. So he's gonna be a big boy. But anyway,
on cue.
Yeah. So like 25%. Can you kind of share? I mean, I know Dave mentioned it was, quarterfinals, 25%, kind of a quarter. I mean, was that really as simple as it was, or was there more that went behind kind of getting to that rationale? And was there discussion?
I mean, there's more. Yeah. Yes, more than just, it's clean quarters. Dave likes that because he likes the numbers, and of course, he likes simplicity. So it's all good. That's one factor. I would say is probably the least significant factor. Bigger factor was that we don't have a lot of offerings for community athletes that want to play. In the past, we've had other opportunities like the pair up throwdown or like the lift off from years back, things like that. But we don't have a lot of those offerings right now. And if you take the Open for what it is, which is like this huge community event, and you talk about it as just a qualifier for the games, it's like, well, you're missing the point just a little bit. There's, literally hundreds of thousands of people that want to play clearly and have no intention of making it to the big show, so to speak. So why not offer a little bit more room for people to continue to play? So that was a major factor. I think the kind of funny, like reading between the lines thing that people want to think is like a gotcha is like, ooh, more revenue. You're like, yep, that's absolutely part of it too. Why would we not want more money injected into the sport? I think that's good for everybody. So that's a consideration as well. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, the reality is we don't have a lot of offerings for the community athletes that are at that level where they're competitive, but they're not going to be on the big stage. Let's open it up a little bit.
I think Craig was talking about that. Sorry, John. Craig was talking about the revenue part. And I think what bothered a lot of people was like they just wanted to hear it, like somebody say it a little bit more. Yeah. But Craig made a good point. It was like, I think he was like, if you guys had come out and said more of like, hey, yeah, we're doing this, because his theory is that this goes on to pay the age divisions and all that, make that whole transition easier for them. So there's funds for that. And I was like, oh yeah, I think a lot more people would get behind it if they knew my dollar is going to help the age divisions like that. I was like, I'm kind of pessimistic on the pessimistic side of the 25% rule. But if that's the thing, like it makes the pill easier to swallow, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is kind of a weird place to be in where, obviously people that have been following along for a long time and they want things to be like this 2012 world where it's, the good old days. It's like, well, it's not that anymore. And the company is in a different place. And that's got, a lot of complexity that comes along with it, let's say. But I don't think that like having an event that can be producing more revenues is a bad thing necessarily. And I agree with you. It's like, yeah, why would you shy away from that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. The 25%, I wasn't bothered by the 25% at all. And if the reasoning is community, great. If the reasoning is more money, great. If it's both of them, that's fine. Like I'm not bothered by that at all. The one like big question that I have is just how does that affect quarterfinal programming? Because if you look at the last two, I thought the last 2 years, and I don't know if I'm in the majority or minority in this, was beautiful as far as quarterfinals to semifinals.
Let me know.
As far, but like the step up, like if you made quarterfinals, like you're playing with the big boys. We are trying to find the fittest people in the world now. We have to qualify the right people to semifinals so we can get to the games, right? And like quarterfinals, I love the comment on here a little bit ago. It was some will never make the games, so the quarters can be their games. Since so many more people in the quarterfinals and the age group are doing the exact same events, does that mean it's going to be an extension of the Open, if you will, or will the quarters, like the difficulty, still be the same? Like that's my biggest question.
And I think that's a very valid question. It puts a lot more pressure on us for sure to figure out a way that we can bridge both, right? Like it's got to be something that, if we open it up to more people, it can't just be something that, okay, movement 1, workout 1, the bottom 15% are like out of luck. Like that's not cool, right? To open it up and then just have something that's beyond that reach. But to your point, it's also not cool to not recognize that this is a significant qualifier and it has to perform that function. Like that's the primary function that it has to perform, right? So yeah, it does put a lot more pressure on us. But that being said, I think there's plenty of formats that you can do that. And we've seen that in the Open many, many times where you have something that starts off pretty vanilla and then a couple rounds in, it ramps up and it ramps up. And you have everybody that can start something, but not everybody that can finish it. You know, that's just one example of that. There's all sorts of self-selecting things that you can program in that make that pretty accessible. Something like, you know, we've seen the other total, for example, as part of a online qualifier. I mean, you could put 1 pound on the board for each lift, you know what I mean? But the best are still going to separate. So I think it puts a lot more pressure on us to get that balance right. Absolutely. But, you know, that's what the team is. That's our job. Right. So, yeah. And the community will let us know. I mean, that's definitely going to be something that we will hear about as we unfold it and as we execute it, whether we get that balance right.
Is it correct in my assumption that while you say it's the same programming, like the weights will be different for the 14 and 15-year-olds, and then at some point in the Masters, like they won't be doing 275-pound clean and jerks at the 65 plus, right? Like,
don't limit those guys. Come on now.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure somebody might be able to, but not the majority.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to follow the same break as the Open, right? So it'll be, and for that continuity reason, if we're going to have somebody show up, let's say you've got somebody who's a qualifier, let's just call him A. Bozman, and he's in the 40 plus division, and he's qualified as an individual and in that age group category, you know, he's going to be doing the same program. So do the workout once and it'll be applied to both leaderboards. So for that reason, it's got to match the age breaks of the Open. So, you know, we'll start modifying at 55 plus. And then for the teenagers.
Boz, one of the things that I'm worried about is, I guess this is sort
Don't
of a
worry.
two-part question.
Not worth it.
Don't worry. Oh, sorry. That's a good point.
They're both worried about stuff.
Okay. I worry too.
Tyler, I'm gonna let you ask your question. But I'm a very big proponent of, like, we can't really judge it until we've had a year of it.
Yeah.
So like we can't be upset until we see what a year of it looks like, right?
It's a very level-headed assessment, and I agree. And I think that's one of the things that we're always fighting against. Sorry to interrupt and talk over you a little bit, but I think that is one of the hardest things, right? Like we're announcing details now in November for stuff that's going to happen in August and October and November of next year. And so you can have the strong.
We appreciate that part.
I do too. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that, like, it's a long tail, and that's hard for people to, I guess, assess fairly sometimes. It's like, yeah, we haven't seen it unfold. The whole separating out of the divisions, I think it's going to be totally awesome for those guys, but I don't know because we haven't seen it play out yet, right? Like I'm banking on that it's going to be a great move and everybody's going to be stoked, but we don't know until we run it, right? Like that is the fact of it.
What I'm worried about is in the Open, like every gym, most every gym, they have this big, huge event for the Open. It's Friday Night Lights. You have the whole community is involved. And what I was telling John last week is a lot of these people who are in the 10 to 25 percentile are going to have a rude awakening when they get to quarterfinals, and you realize that it's not as fun as the Open in that big gravitas sort of way. And that like, it's a lot more dragging. Like it's a real event. And so what I worry about is that they're going to do it the first year and then they won't do it again the second year. So are you guys kind of thinking about that?
I agree with Tyler on that a lot, but you go
no, I think that's fair. And yeah, I mean, of course we want people to come back and play the game. I'll push back a little bit though and say that, like, I think that top 25%, they're not naive. You know what I mean? Like I get it. It's not the top 10% for sure. But like, if you're in the top 25%, like I think you know the game you're playing. It's not like you're going to be stepping into something. You're like, oh my goodness, what's a muscle up? You know what I mean? It's like, I think we have to give credit to that top 25% that, yeah, they're not the biggest, baddest in the gym. But I mean, I can't frame it all in my personal experience, but like I'll make the top 25%. I'm not like a fire breathing athlete, but none of the stuff that happened in quarterfinals the last couple of years scares me necessarily. You know, yeah, there'll be certain things that I'll be stopped in my tracks at certain weights or whatever, but like I'll still have a good time with it. You know what I mean? And I'm not even close to being serious about these types of things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That pushes into the worries about, say it does all pop. Say I'm wrong and John's right, and it all pops off and everybody wants to do it next year. That puts a big strain on gyms to perform for another week. So like, I'm part of the training think tank community. They host a big quarterfinals event sort of every year where they have judges and they have, all the places marked out, but it puts a huge amount of pressure on them. They're not charging for it.
Yep.
Have you guys thought about like how you might remedy that situation for them or cater
for sure.
to that?
Yeah. And I think those are some of the things that were kind of missed in this initial release, like some of the things that we are planning to do around that. So number one, the competition window is much expanded, so prior there was only the weekend, like it was like a long weekend to be able to do the competition. Now we've got Wednesday through Monday, right? So expanded time. We don't plan to expand the number of workouts that we expect from the athletes. So the idea there is affiliates that have, more restrictive class times, they don't have as much opportunity for people to come in. We have more opportunity for the athletes just timing wise to come in and do it where they're not disruptive, or even better yet, and this is what we hope we can do, is we get buy-in from those affiliates that do have quarterfinal athletes, and we have things available like lesson plans, like scaled versions of the workout that aren't part of the official competition, but can be run in tandem with the athletes that are going to be participating. So maybe, Tyler, you're the only one in your gym that's qualified, cool. But maybe if you get your gym owner fired up enough about it, he can agree that, hey, great, you know what, Thursday, Friday, we're going to run those 2 workouts as class to help support Tyler, and they'll be supported in doing that. And it's not like a big burden. And that's something really that's something that we learned a lot about last year. There's always this weird balance between absolute competition and then, trying to make it accessible for the community. Like floor plans are one of those ones that we always go back and forth. We hear about that a lot, right? And rightly. Like you need enough structure there that you're not encouraging people to take risky setups, because we saw that in the early days. People like, oh yeah, I'll just hang my rings directly above my rower because that reduces my transition times. And you'd see some squirrely stuff like that, and that was the birth of like, okay, we got to start dictating a little bit more. Now I think last season we took that to a degree where it's like, in some instances it was a little over the top, admittedly. So we're trying to swing that back to, all right, what's the bare minimum that we can get away with so that affiliate owners can run this stuff so easily, and they want to do it, right? It's not like this hassle to have to get out the tape measure every other week or whatever.
Yeah. And then one of the questions I think is, with quarterfinals in the middle of April, I assume semifinals for the individuals will be middle of May, or I guess for both. The video review process, especially when you start taking the North American and Europe down to the top 40, like that's going to be critical.
Yep.
Are you throwing more resources, more judges at it? Like how are you going to be able to accomplish that quickly and make sure that it's all done so people can plan and get to their respective semifinals?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that, the review, especially going from that stage to in person, like there's so few spots on the line. Like, yes, obviously that's a real priority for our team. So yeah, it's going to be, similar to last season, how we attack that. I think, again, there's been a lot of talking points around like, well, so many people in the mix. How's that going to affect the review? And it's like, at the end of the day, it's really largely not, because most of the people are going to be so far outside our review threshold, as they would have been in that top 10% anyway, that it really doesn't change much in that regard. Honestly, where it changes more is for the huge increase in athletes in the age group semis, trying to verify all that. And I'll be, upfront about that right here. And this is something that I want us to message more, particularly for those divisions, is that like, the fact of the matter is we don't have full transparency. And I think that's something that we kind of backed ourselves into a corner where we're not willing to be transparent about that. It's like, at the Open, we don't have full transparency. And I don't think we're pretending to. We do expect like a certain degree of integrity from the community. And that, like people are going to hold that standard. Now, does that mean everybody's going to? No. Are there going to be some shitbirds out there that like, they're not doing the right thing and they know it? Absolutely. I don't think that necessarily reflects like a huge problem. So
you said the review threshold. What is the review threshold?
Oh, as far as like, well, I can't sit here and give you guys, hey, we review to X position. But I mean, the reality is like, we don't, because then you start to have people that game that system. As soon as that number is like, yeah, Tyler knows.
I would totally do that. 100%.
Top 100.
I'm a shitbird, dude. I would find
it. There needs to be enough incentive on the athlete side that they're like, it could be me, right? So that they do the right thing, at least like some kind of hand of Damocles over that, right?
Yeah,
just a little bit.
That's a big word.
I think what John is expressing is the fear that it's like me as someone who's not going to get top even 2,000, that I have one just event that's a banger and it throws off the leaderboard for everybody else. That's always the worry. I'm not saying
is that a worry though? And this is something.
I mean,
I'm interested. No, I'm genuinely interested in you guys' opinion, especially you, Tyler, because I know you're so like stats heavy. John, I know you are too, but I think that kind of bulletproofs the qualifiers, because if you have to fend off a home run hitter and still make it out of that process, isn't that arguably like, yeah, I can fend that off and therefore I am deserving of that spot.
I mean, my whole thing is a game of inches. Like that little difference matters to me a lot. And so when you're talking about the 20 athletes who aren't going to get to go to or go to semifinals now, and and quarterfinals is going to be inches again. Like if one guy comes in and he gets 2,000th in quarterfinals overall, but he has one top 100 performance, it majorly screws up the leaderboard.
I don't, but it changes the leaderboard. I don't know. Screws up,
it
right?
Could I think one or two people out.
We disagree on this point because there are specialists in every single event. Like if it's a CrossFit event with a whole bunch of transitions, there are Mal O'Briens out there that can't lift anything, but they can move through box jumps and burpees better than everybody else. They should middle the leaderboard. That way the people who make it are deserving. The one case where it is messed up, and it's only messed up because we know the finishing product, and I'm interested to see what you say, Boz, here, is that say I'm in Europe, I moved to Europe, right? And my whatever lift puts Yella Hosta out of qualifying position. We never get to see Yella Hosta. We wouldn't have gotten to see him if it was 40 people in Europe this year, and he's 10th fittest guy in the world.
And see, before you answer, Boz, that's my issue, is that I'm someone who really cares about those bottom of the leaderboard athletes, because this is a career to them potentially. And it's
understood.
If they miss by one spot because one dude way down in 2,000th kicked them out, that matters to me.
But I guess I just don't agree with the framing of kick them out. I'm like, that guy who did performance, like he earned that performance and he had to get through the open. I know, okay, 25%, whatever, but I don't know. I don't see it as like a stealing of something.
Only if the reps weren't correct. Like if they properly executed it, it's fine. But
I'm sorry, I missed that whole. I thought you were talking exclusively about somebody.
That person needs to get reviewed.
Hits a home run.
That's what I'm saying. Is that person needs to be reviewed? Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that's something that we are very, very comfortable talking about. Is that, if you've got something, whether it's an overall score or an individual score within that threshold, it gets reviewed. So if you have a home run hitter that comes out and gets 10th, and all their other scores are in the thousands, yes, that performance is something that we'll look at.
Yeah. Vi has a question here. Are there any parameters, or will you do anything about people who submit one score? I know there's been talk about like they sign up, they go do the max thruster workout, they loaf on the shuttle runs, get second place, or has there ever been talk about taking those scores out of the final calculation of the leaderboard?
And this is something that only affected the Open, really. It wasn't a big case for quarterfinals because you had to be top 10%. But now it can affect quarterfinals, right? Because those people will get in there.
Yeah, at the Open, no, that isn't something that we're looking to change for this season. And so by extension, probably not at the quarterfinals either.
Got it. I know we kind of had you on a short period. I have one last question. With the allocations to the games, implemented the worldwide rankings to do that. Is that going to be in place for this year?
Yes, we're going to use the same system that we did last season. So it'll be a pretty not cut and paste. That's the wrong way to say it, but yeah, it'll be a holdover from that. And that's one of those things that, it's like when you start something, especially as kind of broad as that, giving it more than a season to marinate is generally a good idea. So yeah.
The DeHunt
Okay.
method.
What's that?
The DeHunt method, isn't that what it's called?
Yeah.
John just likes saying DeHunt.
I like saying Damocles too, so that's cool.
Well, Boz, that's good to hear that we'll have some consistency on that point. I really appreciate you jumping on this evening to kind of clarify a few of those things, and we'll look forward to the rule book coming out early December.
Yeah, right on. And open registration starts January 9th, so mark your calendars. It's going to be good.
Awesome, man.
I got a question for the panel if you guys still have time. You got
100%.
Yeah. I'm so curious to hear your guys' opinion on that placement distribution. And I know there's everybody's got their own pet method that is like, oh, this is clearly better because I came up with it. But generally speaking, I was really surprised at how little pushback we got once that happened. It's like, okay, people saw the distribution. It's like we haven't got a lot of strong feedback around that once it took place. You know what I mean? So curious to see what you guys think about
the allocations from semifinals to the games.
Yeah.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll start. I mean,
Okay, you go first.
I think it has merit. My concern, I brought it up last year, was the current point structure. Like Africa had zero chance of ever getting an extra spot, just by how the math worked in the semifinal points. Now maybe that
hopefully need an extra spot.
Thank you, John.
Well,
that's
right now, right? But we don't know if next year there's a Justin Medeiros that pops out of nowhere, and now, like, even with him there, like, nobody else could be there. Like, two of them could show up and we would never know. I think that was kind of the biggest.
Yeah. I'll say to that, I think it's always weird to solve for hypotheticals that have proven year over year not to be the case. And that's one of them, like that I heard
popped up. He's on drugs if he's popping up from Africa.
What's that? Yeah, I don't know about that. No comment. However, but I think it is pretty clear that in a lot of these cases, we get this hypothetical. Well, what if you're stopping this situation that hasn't unfolded yet? And you're like, well, go back and look at the past decade of competition in that region and see if that's a trajectory that seems realistic. To me, I think it's pretty clear.
So your question is, how do we feel about the allocation of places from each region to the games?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just using, the distribution method that we used in.
I don't have a problem with the distribution method. The problem I have is with the deal breakers like Asia, South America, and all that. And I understand that they need to have a competition. I would never want to take that away from them. But that's why I like the last chance qualifier, is because the idea that I had was you run their event and then the winner of that goes to the last chance qualifier. Because then if Matt Frazier is in Asia, he's going to win Asia and then he'll win the last chance qualifier and then he can go on to the games.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't want to take their semifinal away. I think it's important, but let's be real. There are people who are losing spots to people who are worse than them. And that's what sucks. And that's what I want to take out of the sport.
Yeah, fair enough. So you're more on the absolutist, like what is primary is that the top 40 in the world are at the games, no exception.
When you talk about where the money is right now in the sport, not everybody's getting paid. And so, yeah, the people who can make it, I mean, you're making and breaking careers based on if you can go and not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I like the DeHunt method because I feel like
saying it or in practice.
In practice too. I think it's no secret that North America gets screwed as far as how many people get to go to the games. Typically, it's harder to make it in North America to make top 40
East
or West
specifically.
East and West. Europe, East and West.
Okay.
It's much harder.
Well, West on the 3 of them is the weakest, right? Objectively.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yes. I mean, I think Europe's kind of, it depends what division, not the women, the men. I'm talking about the men because I'm talking about myself here, right? But doesn't matter. East,
you,
West,
John?
Europe.
No, you're not
East,
talking
West,
about
Europe
yourself.
doesn't matter. It's harder to make it to those semifinals than it is the other semifinals, right? Even Oceania. I know that the Oceania is very top heavy, but it's harder to make it to the games, Oceania. But semifinals, it's much harder to make it to those divisions. So I appreciate this is like, hey, we know you're getting kind of screwed. More people will go to the games from these regions, specifically the East, like you said. I disagree with Tyler. There should be an Asia representative. There should be an Africa representative. I think there should only be one and never more than that.
Yeah, that's.
Well, it's interesting you say that.
Change.
That's something that gets kicked around a lot. Is like, well, why not just give one qualifying spot to all regions, and then everything else is distribution based on DeHunt distribution.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it the Roman clause. Roman's not in Asia anymore. He's, if Roman was like the guy in Asia, where I can understand you have another guy because Roman's freaking, Roman, but they don't have a guy like that right now. And like when they do, they can, have another spot. But like my problem was the worldwide ranking is what it's going off of. Because, and we've talked about this before. What are the examples, Brian? Because I know you have it off the top of your head. Like when some people don't compete because of injury, they're not getting points. And then it skews how many spots they get, and they're going to take a spot.
Yeah, like I would keep them in there if they have the points, like Tia, because
or Ricky, like when it first started, he didn't have any points for the first year because
that's fine. But like if you think about Tia, she took away a spot from somebody, right? But now she's not in it, and now you're penalizing Oceania because that 4th place person didn't have the opportunity because Tia was in there. Whereas Tia accumulated so many points that Oceania should still get credit for it, right? So if you kept them in there and didn't take them out, like Annie in Europe this year, when if she doesn't do the quarterfinals, well, I assume she wouldn't. Like she earned a spot that somebody in 12th, or was it a 12th in Europe, would not have gotten.
And there's only a handful of situations where that is the case that I feel like can be dealt with individually. Like you could go off worldwide ranking and then you be like, okay, there are these special things. Maybe we take it into consideration when we say the final allocation is this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Same for teams there too. Right. So I think both of those, it's probably minor, but it could throw off an extra spot, especially in Oceania. Right.
Yeah, well, this is what I think is really cool is that, like I said, it's got to be a multi-year process, and every year, like, yes, it needs to be refined. I think that's inherent in a lot of this, right? So, if we're at a place where it's like, okay, it's ballpark, and now it's just we're arguing details. Is it one qualifying spot, or it's a set number that's larger than that? Is it exception plus DeHunt? Well, at least we're able to land the plane, right? Like that's my bigger concern. Like, sorry, my dog is freaking out. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
You're good.
My biggest qualm with the worldwide rankings is that I didn't make them, and that it doesn't include P score. That's
that's a tough pill to swallow, man.
It's not Z score anymore, Boz. People weren't buying it, so we tried to change the letter. So maybe people will buy P
constant
score.
rebrand.
It can be powerful. That rebranding for sure. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate it again.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
And I was, dude is freaking.
Pet that damn dog.
I know. Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate you guys having me on here, and hopefully I can jump back on some other time later in the season.
Love to have you.
Thanks,
absolutely.
Dude. It's good to see you again.
All right, guys. Yeah, good to see you guys too. Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye.
All right.
I think that went pretty well.
Yeah.
We got a lot of answers.
Throwing us some questions. So
I
like that the most. Yeah.
Well,
cool.
Time to move on to
got some information.
The big. Yeah. Go ahead.
What I'll say is, like, I think we did see a little bit more behind the curtain than we usually do. I think he dodged some of the questions, but he can't give us he can't show us where the lines are drawn for, for review.
Love the fact
of course.
that he said that they weren't transparent with the Open, and they know that. Like that's being pretty transparent, knowing that you're not being.
I appreciated that. I appreciated that he's like, hey, we're not going to share everything. Like, I wish they would just be more forward. Or the fact when I was like, hey, if you guys are going to use this money for the Masters, we should be told that. And he was like, yeah, you should have been told that. I was like, oh, okay. Thanks.
Just saw this. Wad Zombie, $4.99. You only got less pushback because everyone was focused on 25%. I think the pushback was on a different topic, but
yeah, no, he was talking about the haunt method.
Yeah. You're on your good behavior though, too, John. You're gonna start yelling at Boz.
No, I wouldn't yell at Boz. Maybe in person.
But we did learn some information. Worldwide rankings still in play. So that was something new answered. So, John, you ready for your games mountain?
Yes. So this weekend, you want to show the? Oh my gosh! Look at that
picture.
Look at that. That's beautiful.
That's.
I didn't know you had that.
Always full of surprises.
All right. So what we are gonna do? We're gonna do this maybe once every 2 weeks. Not every time with games athletes, but this week, I have been plagued with making the 2024 CrossFit Games mountain. And what this is not is a power ranking. It's not a power ranking. This is who I believe is at the top of the mountain or at the bottom of the mountain. And I'll describe the tiers of the 2024 CrossFit Games. Okay. So we're going to start with base camp.
But this is one mountain.
Yeah.
Right? There's not two mountains. There's one mountain.
There's one mountain. It's
males and females.
Oh, yes, the males mountain. And females. So, for instance, Laura Horvath, I think, is fitter or better than Justin Medeiros. She will be on a higher tier of the mountain. It is girls and guys together. It is not just men versus women. So, and you'll hear these tiers in a minute, like an upside down iceberg.
Gonna pause you. Kenneth the Lap, speaking of rankings, when is the next poll coming out? That voting actually starts tomorrow. So those will be going out to everybody, and it'll be ready for next Wednesday. So you'll have it before Thanksgiving. So you can talk about it at the Thanksgiving table with all your family.
So one more before we start. John, I want the rules on this. So
okay, how do you mean?
There's a male or female going to be at the top of the mountain.
Yep.
And what are you saying with that? You're saying that they're better at the games?
Yeah, they're the most dominant. They're the fittest person in the 2024 CrossFit Games.
Okay.
Men and women.
The tiers of
they
fitness.
are the best. Yes, yes, it's tiers of fitness, and it's my personal belief. Okay.
Yes.
Jesus.
So
basically that means it's what's going to happen. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, let's
go.
Let's start.
So before you get to the mountain, you get to base camp.
All right, base camp. So what this means, these people have not climbed the mountain yet. They've either fallen off of the mountain or they're thinking about climbing it. Okay, they're not there yet. They're just thinking about it, or they have fallen off. Okay, go ahead and roll with the names.
Come down.
All right, we'll see the first four.
No, you can go all 8.
So we got Will Morad, Olivia Kerstetter, Colton Mertens, Amanda Barnhart, Mal O'Brien, Nick Matthew, Haley Adams, and James Sprague.
So what this is,
go John.
What this is people that can displace other people from the mountain. For instance, if Mal O'Brien and Haley Adams, as the second they do the open, or they say, yeah, I'm going to do the games this year, they will climb the mountain at a rapid pace. Okay. Like record pace almost, right? Nick Matthew.
So are you hedging your bet then with Mal and Haley?
They can't climb the mountain. They haven't done anything. They've been gone for a year, so they can't climb the mountain yet. The second they start competing, they're climbing.
And they're passing everybody?
Yeah. They'll pass a lot of people, not everybody. You know, we don't know how
I got qualms. I got qualms with this.
Well, that's at the end of the mountain, Tyler. Okay. Let me go through the whole mountain.
All right, fine.
Yeah. All right.
I feel like we're going to leave base camp.
Will Morad always does better than I think he will. He's probably the last person that arrived at base camp. I won't lie. Olivia Kerstetter, I think she's on the come up. Colton Mertens, if he gets, some home run workouts, then he can displace people on the mountain. We just don't know Colton Mertens. Amanda Barnhart, again, she fell off the mountain. It was tragic. She saw a little girl down there at base camp, and so she just ran down the mountain to save this little girl or little boy. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. And James Sprague's been impressing me lately. I've been seeing his Instagram stuff. The only thing holding him back is strength. And, man, he's getting strong enough to start climbing. That's all I'm saying.
Have you seen Will? Have you seen Will do his
strict press?
235-pound strict press?
How much money would you give me if I go to the gym and do 237 tomorrow?
All right, have you gone to the games?
No, I have not. Well, then why does it matter? All right, next level.
Who you said is Will going back home? Is he trending towards the mountain or away from the mountain?
He's been hanging out at base camp for a while, man. I'm not gonna lie.
He's just having coffee at base camp.
Yeah. Like he's kind of like the base camp captain. He's the one telling people about the mountain, but has never really climbed it. He's heard horror stories about the mountain. The
picture in my head is that if you guys have ever seen Bigger, Stronger, Faster, there's that guy that lives in his van that goes to Gold's every day. And he just tells everybody about about bodybuilding and all this stuff, but he's never been a professional bodybuilder. That's Will.
All right. Let's level.
Colton Mertens finished higher than Jason Hopper.
We'll get there. Y'all are you're
the
way
disrespect.
Too ahead. We'll get there. We're gonna move. Let's move fast through the mountain. That way we can talk about it.
All right.
Okay. We're spending too much time at one
level. Now we're gonna start.
We
climbing
have
the
to
mountain.
come back to base camp.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. We will.
All right.
The floor of the mountain. Okay,
All right.
This tier is inconsistent, or we just need to see more of them. All right. Jake Crouch has been climbing inch by inch, and he finally got past base camp. Okay, so this is where Jake Crouch is. Yella Hosto ran from Belgium to the mountain. And right now he's at the floor of it. Emma Tall's been legless rope climbing her way up the mountain. I don't see her getting up another level. And then Hopper and Chandler Smith are Samuel Quant. They're the kings of inconsistency. They don't know if they want to go down the mountain or up the mountain. They have no idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes
we don't even know if Smith is going to be climbing the mountain.
We don't know. And the more news that I learn, the more people will drop or come down. But yeah, sometimes Hopper looked like he was on his way to the top, and then he just started snowboarding down like nobody's business. So we just don't know with him. Sam Quant, he's up and down the mountain. He gets altitude sickness every now and again, has to come back down to base camp. And this is that level. All right, next tier.
All right, next tier.
All right, this tier is the top 10 tier. Okay, these people routinely should be in the top 10. Paige Powers just got here. She's probably the last person on this tier. She just got here. I think she's there to stay, though. I don't see her getting past this level, but I think she's here to stay at this part of the mountain. This tier is just makes the top 10. Probably ain't going to get much further than that. Okay. I am the Sherpa. That's a great way to look at it. All right. Next tier of the mountain. This tier is top 10. Not much past that. Solidified top 10 people. This tier is podium breakthrough. Okay. If everything goes right for them or they have a perfect games run, these people can make the podium. If Alexis Raptis, Dallin Pepper.
Hold on. You have Danielle Brandon as podium potential?
I do. Why? She got 4th place at the games one year. No, podium breakthrough, not potential. Breakthrough. This is a big
tell me the difference between the two.
All right. Breakthrough means these people are not going to make the podium unless they improve or have a perfect run. Bukowski he was a little bit level. He's used to being higher on the mountain, Bukowski, quite frankly. But right now, this is where he's at. Dallin Pepper, Alexis Raptis, and Gabby McGowan and Danielle Brandon all would have to improve more. And I'm not saying they can't, to get to the next level of the mountain. Bukowski at will. can go to the next level of the mountain. But right now, this is where he's at. All right, next tier.
Before I move on, I got a little make you feel good. Kenneth DeLapp, I'll give you one thing, John. This is the most interesting take on CrossFit in 10 years.
All right, that's great. Wait till we get to the end, okay? And then we'll talk about it. But thank you. All right, this is your podium potential, okay? Ariel Lowen was the last one on this mountain, but I think she kicked Alexis Raptis in the face to get up there. I'm not quite sure. I think she gave Alexis Raptis some food, and Raptis couldn't handle it and had to go down the mountain. That's what happened with Ariel Lowen. Justin, Justin, he's just happy to be at this level. I'll be honest with you. He's the happiest guy on this level of the mountain. He's just cruising. He probably could get higher, but he's got a dog now. So this is the level that he's at. He took his dog this high. His dog can't go higher than that or he'll get sick. Alex Kazan and Emma Lawson, they're just chumming it too. They want to go higher, but the people ahead of them won't let them. And the people ahead of them are ruthless. And that's why they're ahead of them on the mountain. All right. This is your podium potential. I expect these people to fight for podium spots. Next level. All right, these are your trio of guys that aren't going to win the 2024 CrossFit Games, okay? These three guys, 2 Canadians and an Australian, sounds like a funny movie. Every one of them's got a different accent because Jeff's accent's basically French, Pat's accent's Canadian, and Ricky, we don't even know what he sounds like because he's an off-color Australian. But yeah, these guys are ruthless. They're climbing with all their worth. I wouldn't be surprised if any 3 of these guys got higher up on the mountain. But right now, this is where they are. This is your 2024 CrossFit Games podium, most likely, except one spot, and that's the winner. Next tier. All right, these are your 2024 CrossFit Game champions, minus Tia.
What does that mean?
Next level. And this is the queen of the CrossFit Games mountain. She reigns supreme over everybody. Queen Khaleesi on her dragon on top of the mountain. Tia Toomey Orr, your 2024 CrossFit Games champion and the queen of Games Mountain. This is your mountain.
John, did you rehearse this?
I didn't, but I gotta tell you, I'm having a blast doing it though, because I'm making up all this on the spot, and I'm liking it. We should clip this because I bet I get better at it the more we do it. All right. So, who wants to go first? I know this is the greatest ranking you've ever seen in your life. It's perfection. There is no changes that need to be made.
But you said it wasn't a ranking.
I said it's perfection, not a ranking. This is what's going to happen.
Okay, let's go back to base camp. Let's reel it back in first.
We'll go back to base camp. All right.
Yeah, we got to go back to base camp. We got to build
your biggest qualm is base camp.
Why? No, this is where I'm starting.
Okay.
Why the hell would you put Mallory O'Brien in base camp? She's going to be like 4th or 5th tier without even showing up.
You know for a fact she's doing the games next year?
I don't know for a fact. But if
that's why she's at base camp.
I'm putting her.
I've explained this. That's why she's at base camp. The second Haley Adams or Mal O'Brien says, "I'm doing it," they'll be on the 4th tier, and that means they will kick off 2 people from the 4th tier. So you got to think about that too. Like there will be people that get kicked off down to base camp because of Mal O'Brien and Haley Adams. But we do not know for a fact they're doing this as of right now. She's still putting in the work. She is putting in the work. The second they say they're going to compete, they will climb with reckless abandon. They'll climb with reckless abandon and kick people off the mountain as they go up. But right now, they're chilling at base camp, trying to think what they want. They're living their best life. They're stress-free. They're in Epsom salt baths. They're drinking hot cocoa. They're just figuring out what they want to do. They're figuring out if they want to go home or if they want to climb the mountain. That's fine. But until we know,
Haley's not going to make it back to base camp. I got to be honest with you. I think this is I am so certain she will not make. So the base of the mountain is top 10. Like those people are making top 10, or they're just outside the top 10.
Just outside the top 10. Inconsistent.
Okay, yeah.
Inconsistent people. Haley will jump them in a heartbeat.
Haley's not going to get anywhere close. I'm going to tell you right now. Mallory, safe all day long. Haley, not even close.
She's about as far from base camp as you can get right now. She's out in Hawaii with their boyfriend.
She's not going to leave base camp, is what you're saying. Haley's going to go home.
Haley's going home.
You don't think Haley's competing
in base camp? I don't think she might compete, but she ain't going to get top 15. I'm going to be honest with you. It ain't going to happen.
Well, this isn't necessarily the top 15 people. This is, I think there are like, I mean, if we can count them, I didn't do the guy. Well, if
that's what you're
ratio.
saying, the bottom of the base camp
they're pretty similar.
Are they really? That's pretty cool because I just kind of made it as I thought about it.
Also, I will give you this. You split it pretty well. I thought you were going to be male heavy, but you were male heavy. You were 15 to 12, male, female. But anyway, I don't mind Colton being here. I think that's a good spot for Colton, like just outside the top 10 to 15.
One thing. Austin Hatfield is on his way to base camp. He doesn't know how to get there. He lives in West Virginia. There's not a lot of flights in West Virginia.
It's hard to get out.
The second he gets on a flight, though, he will be displacing somebody from base camp. I'm telling you, he can't find a flight right now. So, Austin Hatfield is trying. He's looking. Okay.
Do we think a lot of comments here about people not competing? Do we think if you're going to put your money down right now, does Mal and or Haley compete in 24?
I don't think you can. I don't think that's not something I would bet on. I don't think you can comment on Haley or Mal at all until it happens.
That reminds me, I owe you $40.
You do. You owe me $40. And Smith owes me 20.
That's true.
Sprague,
damn it. So I have.
Go ahead.
I went through this list. There's some people I'm surprised I don't see on here. So I'll let you react to these. I'll start first.
Guys, this is the least thing you should talk about on the mountain. I'm just saying. These people matter the least amount.
Travis Mayer.
Okay.
Oh, let me get there later.
Where is he?
I don't know. He's not in base camp.
He's lower than base camp. He's lower of low.
So, that's a great point.
Is he in Tibet?
It's a great point. And you're not wrong, and this could affect base camp in the future. It really could. That's why I'm glad that y'all are dissecting it, because my base camp people, I did not look at the CrossFit Games rankings. I know Nick Matthews sucked. I know Will Morad's worse than Travis Mayer. I know that. But I thought of people that could wreck the system at any given moment. And Nick Matthew has had really high highs and really low lows. Haley and Mal speak for themselves. Colton Mertens is like the greatest home run hitter of all time. James Sprague, I think he's on the ascent, right? Barnhart, if freaking priorities are straight, her priorities are straight, and that's her kid. Don't eat me up in the chat. But if she wants to compete at the CrossFit Games, she's top 10 material. Olivia Kerstetter, I think, is on the way up. That doesn't necessarily mean she's better than some women, right? Emily Rolfe's better than her at the current given moment. But I can see Olivia being the next Laura Horvath. Maybe not as good as Laura Horvath, but a version of that. And then Will Morad, in my head, I always underrate him, and that's why I put him at base camp. Your Travis Mayer is 100%. Honestly, Travis and Noah. I know Noah's said he's not competing.
Yeah, he's out, but he's not.
But 100%. Travis Mayer probably should be on base camp. Yeah.
So, legitimately, no funny business. There's no Panchicks, and I don't like that. I think the Panchicks should be in here somewhere. One of them.
Where? Who?
At least in base camp. Saxon and Spencer both.
Okay. Listen, I'm going to put people on there that I think can climb the mountain. I think
Saxon's been there.
I think he's got third at the games.
He got third at the games. Really? What year, Tyler?
He never got third.
Rogue.
2 years ago. 3 years ago.
He got third at Rogue 3 years ago? Saxon did?
Oh, wait. You've said that's the best competition for judging athletes.
Saxon
now
got
you're going to say
third
that
at Rogue
doesn't
3
matter
years ago?
anymore?
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
You got to show me that because I don't believe that. Usually I'm pretty good at remembering this stuff. Maybe
Go
you
ahead,
did,
Spin. I'm gonna pull it up.
but I don't think any three, all three of those guys, I don't see them improving enough to. I mean, top 10 potential, sure, but like the highest they could go to is the first tier of the mountain. And the first tier of the mountain, I think all have like either are climbing and consistently have climbed or have shown that they can be better than what they are. I want to pick people that can climb the mountain, and the pan chicks are like amazing at not having holes.
And you're still better than Tyler's memory because it is 10th.
10th. Yeah. Which
were you talking about third and like
camp?
He got third in something. I can't remember.
Oh, he got third in something. Saxon Panchik won the Open one year. Maybe that's what you're thinking about. And you know what? I don't care one bit about that.
What about
he won semifinals too, if that's what you're thinking about. Still don't care one iota. Go ahead.
What about Brooke Wells?
Dude, I mean, I don't know if she could find base camp. If you told her to go look for base camp, I think she'd end up somewhere else.
Put it in a book.
I don't know. Brooke Wells, I have no opinion. That's kind of one that I think could climb the mountain, but I'm not going to put her on there until I'm not going to put her at base camp until I see something that impresses me, right? Which could be in the Open, could be in semifinals. All right, let's move up. Let's go to the actual mountain because we're spending too much time.
Go back to the mountain.
The mountains of Vermont.
All right, what? And like you can pick any level you want to talk about. Any
Jay Crouch. Jay Crouch.
I
was not high on him going into the games. He impresses me there. Does well at Rogue. He's only 24 years old.
Oh, you're telling me I have him properly rated?
I'm saying he's probably better than that.
Okay.
Like I think he's up on the rise.
That, man.
I think he's up on the rise. He's higher than BKG at this point, in my opinion.
All right. Well, BKG.
I agree with Spin.
BKG is on his way down. Okay, he's on the way down the mountain. Come semifinals, like he might fall a little bit more. BKG used to be where Jeffrey Adler is. That's where BKG was, and he's fallen all the way down to this tier, right? He's probably going to keep falling, but I think we owe him the respect of being ahead of Jay Crouch on the mountain. Jay Crouch got to prove himself a little bit more.
Tyler?
I would dip Sam down into base camp, but once again, I'm always low on Sam.
Your mic's getting fuzzy.
Is it fuzzy? Sorry. Anyway, I would dip Sam down into base camp. But besides that, I don't hate the bottom line. I would like to see Bailey Martin somewhere, even at base camp. Do you not agree, John?
So Bailey Martin, I almost put him in the inconsistent or need to see more category. But I thought Jay Crouch, Sam Quant, I thought Jay Crouch and Yella Hosta were better than him. And Chandler Smith, and I don't think he's as good as Chandler Smith or Jason Hopper when they're performing, or Sam Quant when they're performing at their highest level. And Yella Hosta and Jay Crouch, I think, just are better than Bailey Martin. It was Bailey Martin's rookie year that we saw him, right? And I just think I need to see more from Bailey Martin. I'm more impressed with James Sprague than I am Bailey Martin, even though Bailey Martin placed higher than him. I think James Sprague has the ability to climb the mountain much more than Bailey Martin does. And Bailey Martin could prove me wrong for sure. But as of right now, that was my thought process. And that's why he's not at base camp.
I don't disagree that Sprague, am I better now?
Much better.
I don't disagree that Sprague should be at base camp. I think that's a good spot for him. But Bailey, I mean, I guess you're right. You just want to see more. I think it would be fair to at least just put him in base camp. But yeah, I don't hate this bottom line. With quarterfinals being the way they're going to be and the cut to semifinals, I mean, I think we all should legitimately question Hosta. And so, to me, I would bump him down to base camp.
Well,
just because it's dude,
if he makes the games.
Okay.
Right? The second he doesn't make the games, guess who's not even at base camp? Yellow Hosta, because he's not there.
That's fair. I don't know. To me, I'm thinking about the season as a whole.
This is
and that's
2024 CrossFit Games as I see it now. The second people do not make it or say they aren't going to be there or aren't competing, they will be out, right? Chandler Smith goes team, he's out. BKG retires, he's out. Yellow Hosta doesn't make it, he's out. Mal O'Brien or Haley Adams doesn't compete, they're out. Right? Like that's how I am. But I'm approaching this as everybody's doing the games. This is my rating.
Mama Young has a little comment here for her son.
Okay.
Colton is better than Freyova and Tall.
Okay, well, Emma Tall was like 11th at the CrossFit Games, right?
Yes.
She brings up a good point. I think
yeah.
Colton is overall better than Freyova and Tall. But like when you're considering their ability to place in the women's field, I think Freyova and Tall have a better chance. But I do think Colton is better overall.
I agree with that. I think Colton is a product of the field is just harder at the men. The men are way more deeper than the women are. And that's why Freyova and Tall are where they are, because I am the least sexist person on the panel, and I believe in equality. And I think Freyova and Emma Tall with a perfect run can crack the top 10, and that's why they are here, and that's why Colton is where he is.
I don't know, dude. 12 women and 15 men on this mountain. I don't think you are an equality pro.
That is pretty equal, man.
So you're still of the opinion that Medeiros is podium bound?
Absolutely.
Or podium potential.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great way to put it, because he's a podium sponsored athlete, right? It'll only be right for him to be a potential podium getter. I think if you're the fittest man in the world, like, you need to give him his due. Everybody wants to jump off the Justin Medeiros train. If you put the first two events as like sevenths for him, which I get it, he didn't do it, but typically he would. Like on 2 years ago, that's what it would be, right? He would have been like fourth or maybe even third. But I don't think he would have podiumed there. But like, he would have been very, very, very close. And I think Justin can still vie for the games. I'm not saying that he's going to win the games, but I still put him in this quintuple of guys that are, I think Ricky, Jeff, and Roman are ahead of Vellner and Medeiros as far as like they're going to fight for the championship, and Justin and Vellner are going to fight for the podium. And then whoever has mistakes or whoever gets sick or whatever, whoever wrecks a bike, that will dictate who falls down and who climbs up, right? And if that happens to Ricky and Justin has a perfect run, as he's done so many times, that's his game, is to not make mistakes, then absolutely I think Justin can podium. I don't see him winning the games, but I do see him being right there in the fight for it. And I think everybody's way too fast to jump off the Justin train, because he had one bad year where he still got 7th place, right? That was what he got last year.
13th
place. Okay. Fikowski's gotten 16th place before, and everybody thinks Fikowski can make the podium.
I didn't this past year.
No, you didn't, and you should have.
Speaking of Medeiros, did you guys watch his show with Frazier?
I went to a couple times.
Listened to the first half of it. I haven't gotten to listen. I do want to listen to the whole thing, but I wasn't able to listen to all of it.
Before you dive into it, so is Podium
I want to play
a podcast?
No, this is a one-off, and they say that in the first minute of the podcast
with 76,000 views.
Matt is very like, this is not a podcast.
Hopefully, I get the audio right. Let's see if I just want to play one little clip here.
Anytime I saw a podcast, a video, Instagram, I would screenshot it, and anything that like pissed me off, I'd put it in there. And anytime I needed a good resentment to make me roll a little faster, pull that up.
Dude, you're in the old days now, and in the new days, you can save audio clips.
Oh,
yeah.
couple of those. Like the one.
How much of their phones do you take up, John?
Dang, I'm just talking Justin Medeiros to sleep all night. Oh, you know what's funny is I feel like I'm like really high on him now, like as far as the everybody who talks about him, because everybody was so fast to jump off the train. When all y'all were high on him, I'm like, guys, he's not that. And then whenever I'm right, I'm like, guys, he's better than you think he is. You know what I mean? Like it's like there was this so alter shift.
Yeah, I'm sure he has some clips from us and others talking about it. One big thing I think I see on here is Hopper's down there in that bottom tier, Pepper's in that middle. I know we had a discussion. It might have been during semifinals. We were talking about who has the higher ceiling. Are you willing to admit that Dallin is now has the higher ceiling?
Hopper has a higher ceiling than Dallin Pepper.
So Hopper has to get better than 5th.
Yeah. That doesn't mean he's going to do it.
Why are you putting him at the bottom of the mountain then? Just because he got 31st? Because he has huge screw up potential?
Yes, Tyler.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just clarifying.
His games rankings are 19th, 7th, and 31st. What about that dictates him being higher than where he is? I think the robe above him is top 10. I know these people are going to be in the top 10. Or like it's hard for them to not get lower than that. I don't see Lazar Dukic or BKG. You know, BKG's fading a little bit, but I don't see them getting 20th. They're always going to be around the top 10 or in the top 10. Hopper, highest place was 7th. Recently got 31st.
Yeah.
We all
what
know
about
that was a
him?
fluke. If you go just on numbers on his experience or on his past, like I understand that makes sense, but we know he's better than he was when he got 7th,
and that's why he's on the
31st.
That's why he's on the mountain.
How's he better than 7th?
I agree.
He's a better athlete. He's better at CrossFit than he was when he was at 7th, for sure. How can I be wrong about that?
He got 31st.
Well, I think
I throw that out, and that's probably the difference between us. Is I'm going to throw that out every day of the week.
I don't disagree with you, and I throw it out too, Tyler. But there's a part of performing on game day, and this is funny because Hopper freaking played football. I know he did not play on game day, so maybe that's why he didn't play on game day at the games. But there's something to that. There's something to showing up big when the lights are lightest. Lights are brightest. Right? And he has not 2 of the 3 times. Right? And I agree with you. I think, and that's why I just said what to Brian. Brian's like, are you willing to admit it now? Dallin's better than Hopper. Admit it. I'm right. Rawr.
Right.
And I won't admit it. I think Hopper can make the podium. I think Hopper has all the potential in the world. I'm just not going to say he's going to do it until it happens, right? And then when it happens, like in God forbid, Tyler, it doesn't happen, and then you're like, I'm off the Hopper train, and then that's the year he does it because you'll just be crushed. But I'm with you on his potential. It's just until he shows that he can do that, I'm not going to rank him as such. He showed me repeatedly that he's not that guy. And until he is that guy, I'm not going to put him there.
Barry and I are on the same page.
And listen, I'll tell you this. The second he wins semifinals, because he loves freaking semifinals. I don't put it past him to win semifinals again. Hold on.
I'll say this way. He's yelling at his dogs. Travis needs to replace Catcher, and Catcher needs to be kicked off the mountain, off the base camp, and sent back to Vermont. Or West, whichever one
or Montana
lives in.
The second he wins semifinals, I'll put him up there with he'll probably just jump one level. I can't put him as podium potential until he does it, because he's let me down multiple times.
So
I'll give you that.
Who would Hopper bump down if he moves up?
Probably BKG. I gotta just because BKG is probably going to be the first one to slide.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, I'm wondering. Go ahead, Idaho.
Alex Gazan, Emma Lawson, Ariel Lowen. That's the fight for the podium.
Yep.
You don't have any really surprises on the women's side. You talked about Austin Hatfield. Is there anybody on the women's side that you considered who may not people have been thinking about to just make the mountain?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, maybe if you guys can say names, like you have to think.
I can't think of a
I'm
girl.
thinking who can climb the mountain, right? Like I think of people like Bethany Flores and Emily Rolfe and those tier, but like that second tier of women have never jumped a tier, right? Like it's the women, the top of the mountain, no pun intended, for the women are so much better than the next tier. Like there's this talent gap, right? This is why Danny Spiegel can make it to the games every year, because there's a talent gap between the top and then the really, really elite. Where for the men, there's the elite, there's guys right outside the elite, and then literally luck of the draw on programming. I think 15 through 40th, but like the true 40. Like you could throw Tyler Christoffel in there, and Tyler Christoffel would not be last at the games, right? I really believe that. Like put Tyler Christoffel in there, and I bet he gets like 30th, kind of like what Luke Parker did. But I think like for the guys 15 through 30th, or 15 through 40th, the true 40 is just on what the events are. Like some people get luckier than other people as far as what events are programmed. And then the rest of and then there's a little bit of a tier jump after that. But for the ladies, there's so much of a tier jump from like 5 to 20.
How about this one from Halpin? Ellie Turner, Matilda Garns.
No shot.
Either of them?
Nope.
I like the Hopper. I like John's Hopper argument for Ellie. Like she's not proven to me at this point. Matilda Garns, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on her.
I think she was like 16th in the games 2 years ago.
Freyova and Tall are just there because there was nobody else. Like, and I don't mean that to be mean. I really don't. But like, what other girls are like, yeah, they're going to make a move. They're going to, like, people need to watch for these people. They're not out
Looking
there.
At the women's leaderboard, like there's no movers. Ellie
Turner for Freyova if you wanted to. You definitely could. But like, they're the same person. Like they're not the same person, but like it's the they're not going to be better than those other girls. They're just not. They're just not. And until somebody proves me wrong, like that's what it is.
Question.
Yeah.
What does Laura have to do? I mean, so mathematically she can't sort of get kicked down a level, but like there's 3 guys in the third level.
Yep.
I'm just wondering what she has to do to fall to the third level and Tia be placed between them.
Like
or Tia's still at the top, and there's Tia's at the top 2 guys, and then Laura.
Go ahead, Brian.
So Tia has to run away with it, and
that's Adler. That's not what he's asking.
Yeah, have Laura bump down one, right, to the third level.
I see what you're saying. She stretches the gap even farther.
She stretches the gap, and you have Adler or Ricky or Vellner challenge Roman down to the wire.
Mm-mm.
No,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the guys do. For Horvath to go down a level, because here's the thing: I think Laura Horvath is so much better than everybody else except Tia, and Tia is so much better than Laura Horvath. Come games time. Right? So, like, if Emma Lawson or Alex Gazan or, I don't think anybody else has a shot, but, like, say one of those two, probably Emma Lawson, if she comes within 10 points of Laura, then, and, like, Jeffrey Adler and Roman have, like, this great race, right? Then Horvath will go down to the third level, and I'd put Adler on the second level.
So she loses her separation to other women. Like,
yes,
you're saying the
it's
other
the fact
women
that
wouldn't
Laura
even
is
jump
dominant.
up necessarily. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then piggybacking off that question, what does Tia have to do in 2024 to go down off the peak of the mountain? Is there any world in which she's not at the peak? Yeah, besides retire, when she's still an active athlete. So it's Laura's mountain, because it was Mahomes' mountain and he's the athlete.
I mean, if
so it's
God forbid she tore her
Tia's
ACL,
mountain.
if she gets pregnant again, then it'll be Laura's mountain.
Welcome to Tia Mount or Tia Toomey or Mountain.
Like, no, there's nothing. I think Tia is going to destroy the games.
I'm impressed by Clock's geography knowledge. It is the Matterhorn.
Where's that?
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think there's a world where Tia doesn't win by over 100 points.
By 100 points?
Mm-hmm.
No chance.
I don't see a world where it's not over 100 points. Laura Horvath got so freaking lucky with the handstand push-up event at the games this year and at Rogue this year. And like, there will be a handstand push-up event that is harder than there was like handstand push-up more centric at the games this year, because this was the easiest year they've ever had.
Do you think being inside all at 2024 games will impact the programming or impact who could do well? Like you just said, Hopper's great at semifinals. Do you think the games will look
a ton, man? They'll run outside.
Anything more?
They might not have events outside. They're still going to run outside. And like, as long as running is still like one of the most things tested at the games, and I don't see that changing, then I don't see it like, oh, now that it's more inside, it's going to favor this guy more or this girl more. I don't think they're hamstrung by what they can do, because most of their events are inside versus outside. What have they done outside that they couldn't do inside besides swimming? I mean, and they could swim inside. They go to a freaking pool. Like, it's not,
To me, a lot of the recovery is the heat. Like, I feel like if you're going to be the fittest on earth, you have to go outside to feel the heat, and you have to be affected by that. Because if you're not, like, I just don't trust you as
run outside, and that's
athlete.
part of the heat.
Probably, but not to the degree that they were.
I mean, a run's a run, man. You go, hey, we're going to
go on a 5-mile
run. Like,
the field is not as big as North Park, so there is less transition. There is some of that you can't do as much, like the sprinting down and back and things like that. I don't think they're going to create some type of thing outside to do it. So I think there will be small differences because of the inside arena than being able to go out to a North Park. It may not be events are materially different, but if you look at two that are kind of close, one at North Park and one inside Dickies, I think you'll see a little bit of a difference. Like if they repeated it would be faster because they wouldn't have as much transition time. It's kind of like semifinals this year when you watched Africa or Asia and they did Linda. Like the transition time wasn't as far back and forth as the bigger ones.
To say that that's going to impact placement because the transitions are going to be smaller.
I think
I disagree. I think any bike event or a run event they can still do. They just go to a place and do it. Any outdoor event that they typically do outdoors, they'll still be able to do those things. They just have to get permits for them.
There's something to be said for
I don't think they want to do
that. I think if you saw that effect spin, we would have a lot more to worry about. I mean, I think they would have to change the fabric of what we understand the games to be.
I think it is.
No, and
if it's gonna be more made for TV, they're not gonna want to just like leave the stadium and like do an event in the morning and then go somewhere else. Like once you're in that stadium, you're in the stadium, right?
I think if it's what you say, Brian, how you think it is, and if that's the truth, then I think it only benefits people like Vellner and it hurts people like Ricky.
Right. It helps Hopper. It helps.
Thrives on. I don't think it helps or hurts Hopper. Hopper's a good runner, man. And he's good at athleticism, athletic things. Like I think he does pretty good most times outside. But I think it helps people like Vellner for sure. Koski, it probably hurts. Ricky, it hurts. Tia, to some extent, it hurts, but I just think it's not going to matter.
It won't matter.
Emily Rolfe, all of a sudden she'll be bottom 20 instead of top 20.
Yep. Well, I like it. You guys ready for the third topic?
Yeah.
All right. Earlier this week, there was an email that went out for a survey to CrossFitter affiliates, most CrossFit affiliates, I believe. Seth from Jump Ship shared the story, kind of broke from there. Hiller then went out and got a hold of the survey and created a video. Did you guys watch that?
Yeah,
I watched the first 5 minutes, and then
I can't get over the AI DeCoons thing. Every time he does, there's a few bits that Hiller does. Every time I do, it just cracks me up, and the AI DeCoons thing just kills me every time.
Yeah, I guess thinking about it from a franchise perspective, because the questions here, right, were centered around growth. Right. It was centered around how many new members can you recruit in a year? How much revenue does your gym generate? Like, what's the price of your new membership? How much have you increased it over the years? Like, you think about a franchise model. Franchise models are based off of a percentage of sales, a percentage of revenue. All of this leads to they're trying to forecast, if they switch to a franchise model of a percentage of sales, what does that look like?
Did you look at the thing itself? Did you get a link to the survey?
I didn't get the link to the survey, but I mean, Hiller had all of the questions on there. And knowing what all of that, like understanding how businesses or private equity value recurring revenue and growth because of a franchise model, that's highly valued. Like, this I see as their way to grow revenue from a CrossFit side, right? They don't have to sell an affiliate license. It's, I just need to get one more person in and I make more money. Right? We raise prices, we make more money. John, you work at a gym. Did you guys receive that? Have you talked about it internally?
We are not affiliated.
Man.
They weren't affiliated when I got there, so it's not like I've made the decision.
Never mind, John. Never mind.
Let's play a game. Let's say, John, have you ever been to the original KFC? You ever been to Corbin, Kentucky?
I don't eat KFC.
I figured since you lived in Pikeville, you might have been there. So it's nothing like a normal KFC.
I know the town, but I've never been there.
It's nothing like a KFC. I mean, they have chicken and all that, but basically what they did was they bought the franchise and they started dressing it a certain way, and everything needs to be streamlined and everything needs to be. And what CrossFit will do, I wanted to play the game of what happens if they do start running franchises. And I think the likely move is, if you combined it with Sousa's theory that they're going to start buying up small gyms that might be struggling or something like that, that might be in particularly good markets, what they'll do is, if you do a franchise, they'll systemize everything. They'll make it all look clean. They'll make it all look the same. The same thing Walmart did, and it's why it's killed little mom and pop shops, to the point where I think a lot of people would rather go to that safe CrossFit gym over a mom and pop CrossFit gym, in which case it'll beat out mom and pop CrossFit gyms across time. Do you not agree, Spin?
I don't agree. Owning a gym, owning gyms across the country is not as valuable as having the franchise side of it. And I don't see it as turning into a Orange Theory or a F45 where it's cookie cutter, everything is the same. I see it more as this is a way to
NorCal.
grow. This is a way to grow our profitability from a CrossFit LLC side of things, or Inc. or whatever they are now, as gyms grow, to share in that, and it creates increased valuation that way. Like I don't see them as trying to push the same across everything. I don't think that'll work given where we've come from. But right now you have to go sell a new affiliate at a location to make any more money. The only way you can do that without selling an affiliate is you bring a new member in, I get a little bit more money. You sell Momentous, I get a little cut of that. You raise your prices, I get a little cut of it.
So it's a pyramid scheme.
It's the franchise model of everything is it's a percentage of your sales goes to the mothership.
That's if
I don't like that at all.
The international model is spent. So that assumes there's no more expansion to be had. And that's probably true-ish in the United States. There's very little expansion to be had in the United States. But like, why aren't they looking to other nations? Why aren't they looking to other markets that they can go expand into? So if you're going to try to move to a franchise model, that tells me that you can't make the push anywhere else. And so growth is done at a large level, which I just can't believe can be true. Can you? Like, is CrossFit as dense as it can get?
I don't think so.
Not in some of the developing markets. I'm just not sure in the States. Got one here real quick. LDY 2742. Tyler, old CrossFit wasn't afraid to max out or deadlift. It's been changing from the original for years. Obviously methodology, but I mean, things do change. The only, what I will say is, obviously, if you're a very successful, very profitable gym with lots of, you have 200, 300, 400 members, you're going to be paying more than $3,000 a year. But if it's, say, like 5% of sales, right, or whatever percentage, and you're starting out and you have 30 members, does it help you get off the ground because you're not paying $3,000 a year? That'd be my one counter to it, as a revenue-based side.
I don't think 3,000 is that much.
It's not, but it's the principle. It's not the money, it's the principle that matters here. And honestly, like, I fall on Greg's side with this of the sort of the fittest survive or the best business survive. It's like, if you have 30 members, like, you can put together that $3,000 somehow. And like, if you can't make it by year 2, like, did we really need to raise you up? You know what I mean? For you to join the franchise, for us to baby you for 3 or 4 years until you get your wings on your feet? No.
Yeah, I agree with Tyler.
That's fair. I mean, I do think it's a growth strategy, like truly what it is at the end of the day. I mean, I'm throwing that out there as a potential of it does help, but extra sloppy. The affiliate model is laissez-faire CrossFit. I don't know. I mean, we don't know where it came from. It sure sounds like it came from CrossFit. Mama Deer seems kind of sketchy. Don't know what that's all about. I feel like you would go with somebody a little bit more real than that. But we've definitely gotten to a very business-focused mindset of looking at everything from CrossFit. That was never the case 4 or 5 years ago, ever.
It's the opposite of the case.
Right? Like, that was always and I think that's where we actually need to go, is back to, like, why do we care how much CrossFit is making? Right? We don't have anything else to talk about. Right?
I mean, I'm making up fictional mountains for.
Well, that was the great thing about Coca-Cola, NSCA, Anthos, all these battles we got in is because for the most part, those were very, very virtuous battles that we got into, or that Greg got into. And so it kept you like there was a story at all times. And I don't know. I have a personal belief about what CrossFit should be. I think with the business focus, I just don't think it's ever going to work. And I think they're going to have to figure it out. But I mean, when you're owned by private equity firms, that's what you care about. That's your religion.
Matters. Yeah. I just want to see somebody evangelize and talk about the health side, and the growth will come. But we don't have anybody on the CrossFit side that does that anymore from HQ. Affiliate owners, yes, they've always done that. But Glassman was the one that he came out and he spoke about
and couldn't care less about the games. Like,
right.
But
all he wanted to do is talk about improving people's health. And people
I'm saying that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And people wanted to get healthier. They wanted to hear what he had to say. They wanted to follow that, and they wanted to then distribute that to their affiliates or their friends. And we always talked about CrossFit. Now we're talking about Games Mountains, and is CrossFit going to a franchise model like that? The focus has shifted. And I'm not sure it's the best direction for it, but I think time will tell. But I think that's
for another night.
That's it. And the next night, we'll see you then. All right, guys.
See ya.
See ya.